Well, I think the thing about the internet is that it has no prior censorship. In other words, nobody needs any permission to get online and say whatever they want to say or post whatever they want to post. And this, of course, has great advantages as well as disadvantages. What it does to Singapore's political culture, though, is that I think it makes people far more expressive and take for granted that they have a certain right to express themselves. This in turn has made, I think, Singapore's political culture more contentious. It has put pressure on the press to be more bottom-up as well as top-down, which is traditionally has been. And I think, of course, this puts pressure on the government to respond very much in real time often. Well, I think Lee Kuan Yew's passing, in a way, was a bit of an anticlimax. It's been anticipated for many, many years. And I think for at least the last 3 to 5 years, his imprint on the day-to-day management of Singapore wasn't really perceptible. He was, of course, known as the founder of modern Singapore, but he had already kind of faded away from the scene in the last few years. And so I think all the predictions about his passing leading to major changes in Singapore probably overstated. I think instead, in the short term, of course, what we have seen in the immediate aftermath of his death, an extremely emotional period of mourning, was a sense of nostalgia, a sense of gratitude among most Singaporeans for how far we've come. A sense of the need to self-reflect. Whether this has any impact on Singapore politics going forward is very difficult to say. Well, I think at this moment, Singapore is in a rather awkward period in its life. Traditionally, we've been extremely open to people and ideas from all over the world. Our very being is as a crossroads. For the last 700 years of Singapore history, we have been a crossroads. This has, I think, been eroded, and that culture has been eroded just over the last few years, when for the first time we've seen native-born Singaporeans resistant to the idea of being surrounded by foreigners. This has taken on sometimes an ugly tone. There is a certain xenophobia creeping in, which of course is not in keeping with the idea of a cosmopolitan international hub. I think this is probably the one thing, the culture of the people that needs to be rethought if we are to reclaim our what I believe is deep within the Singapore genes, which is to be an international hub. And I think we need to be far more open to differences in our midst, differences among Singaporeans as well as differences between Singaporeans and foreigners. Of course, the government made mistakes in its immigration policy, and I think that is the source of a lot of the unhappiness that we see around us today. But these policy mistakes shouldn't be taken out on visitors, workers, expatriates and so on, who, like Singaporeans, are just trying to do the best they can, raise money for their families and so on.